Jesus' mighty name, amen. Amen. Okay, so today, you guys are really going to have 20 to 25 minutes together in accountability. Okay? Now, before we get there, I'm going to walk through and I'm going to teach you guys some new concepts, because what I've seen over time is that how we understand accountability, sometimes it has some fundamental flaws with how we understand it. There's a different way to understand accountability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to review, and then I'm going to give you guys a new growth principle. We'll have some self-reflection, and we'll jump into it. So let's review last week. The last session, we talked about crowding out principle. The principle of, instead of taking all of our mental energy and focusing it on, I'm going to stop doing that, I'm never going to do that again, which doesn't work at all for us. I don't know if that is just me, but when I tell myself I'm never going to do that again, I end up doing that again. So instead of focusing on something negative that's broken inside my life, what I do is I look for the positive antidote. I look for the positive antidote to that negative relational habit, and I fix my mental energy and attention into putting that in place. So the goal is not to stop doing bad things. That's not the goal. Remember, we said this before. We could be faithful to our wives, have a good job, and not beat our kids, and still be a terrible husband and father. And miss the point entirely of this journey that we're on. It's more than that. It's more than just not doing bad things. So we want to press on beyond that. So we're always asking the question, what is the positive antidote to our negative relational habit? So let's talk about the growth principle for today. And this is an important growth principle. This will be our vocabulary moving forward. You'll probably hear me say this to you 55 times between now and the end of our season together. I call it the ripple effect. The ripple effect. Now, all of you guys who've been around ponds before, real quiet pond, I love skipping rocks. I count it as a challenge to see how many times I can skip the rock, and my kids and I will go do that. But what's interesting, you take a pebble, even just a small pebble, and you toss it out in the middle of the pond, and it hits into the water, and a ripple comes, right? And literally that ripple can go all the way across the entire pond. One small little pebble can cause the ripple to go all the way across the entire pond. That's the way it works with our actions, our pursuit actions inside of our relationships. Think of it this way. The pebble is your action. The ripple is how other people respond to your action. So the pebble is your action. The ripple is how other people respond to your action. Now that means your wife, that means your kids, that also means God. God responds to our action. In fact, in Scripture we're told to pray. Pray without ceasing. Cast all your anxieties on the Lord, for He cares for you. So there are certain pebbles that we throw into relationships that cause ripple responses. Now, the ripple responses can be different. So we control our actions. Your first blank is actions. We control our actions. Every time you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm going to intentionally pursue my wife. I'm going to intentionally pursue my son. I'm going to intentionally pursue my daughter. I'm going to intentionally pursue God. Every time you do that and you take a step in doing that, you're taking a pebble and you're throwing it into the water. And you're giving it the opportunity to have a ripple inside your life and a ripple inside your relationships. But it all starts with us putting the action in. I like to think of it this way. It's the difference between proaction and reaction. Most men are reactive. Wife is mad, she's complaining, she's talking about, sick and tired of you, and blah, 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 complaining, and they react by doing something to help the marriage. Instead of going, I don't ever want it to get there, I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to be proactive and go at, and I'm going to pursue before it ever gets to that place. Same thing with our kids. Some guys, they'll wait until their kid is in a hot mess before they go, you know what, I need to spend some extra time with my kid. No. Do it while their kid is okay. Be proactive in this, not reactive. Second, God and others control the responses. You do not control the responses to your actions. God and others control the responses. So you may do something let's say you do something for a kid that you've got a little bit of attention with that kid. You may do something for your kid that's really nice. You just say you make their lunch and you write a note in it or something like that. And that kid may come down and go, what? You didn't slice the bread? That's not on you. That's their reaction to your action. You can't control what other people do, but you darn well control what you do. And as men own our contributions, everything changes. I found a lot of men, they passively sit back and they they respond to the responses around them, and it kind of puts us in neutral. We don't go anywhere from it. So God and others control the responses. Now, I've seen this happen. Sometimes when you throw a pebble, a small little pebble in your relationships, God will give a tidal wave. I've seen that happen before. We're going to have that happen at some point in our journey. One of you guys is going to throw a pebble in, and it's going to be an abnormally big ripple, a tidal wave response. A few years ago, I had a young man who I was walking through this process, and he said, in order to grow my relationship with God, I'm going to spend 5 uninterrupted minutes every day reading Scripture, something like that, some kind of commitment like that. So he's reading Scripture, and he said, in order to grow my relationship with my community, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk the neighborhood each Saturday and do a trash pickup. There's a park by us. I'm just going to walk in there and I'm going to pick up trash and come back home. It's a way to make my community better. Okay. So these were his commitments. Well, that young man was reading that morning, did his time in Scripture. The Scripture was talking about honor father and mother and submitting to our parents and things like that. And he goes out on his trash walk that day, and he notices about a 6-year-old little boy meandering around all by himself. Would that be odd to any of you guys? Well, it was odd to him too. This is a 13-year-old, 13, 14-year-old, about a 13-year-old. He saw with different eyes. He saw something looks off about that. And so he walks up to the little kid, he started talking to the kid. Turns out the kid got mad at his parents and ran away. And so this student, this 13-year-old young man, starts talking to that kid about submitting to his parents and honoring his... Where did he get that from? He got it from the Word that morning. And then he walked that kid back to that kid's home a few blocks away. His parents were distraught, and how did you get out, and all this kind of stuff. He threw a simple little pebble in the pond, and God gave a tidal wave. I call it a tidal wave, wouldn't you? So you can't always control how other people respond. Okay, sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small, but sometimes you'll throw a pebble in and you'll see something happen. You'll say, you know what, I'm gonna, I've got this, this son or daughter that's prodigal in their life right now. I'm just gonna pray. Every day I'm going to pray, in 5 minutes or whatever, I'm just going to pray every day for them. And one day they call you and say, hey, I'd like to go to church with you. And you're like, well, that's my tidal wave. All I was doing was just this little small pebble. You throw the pebble in, God controls the response. Set yourself free from the response. It's not up to you, but the pebble is. So different actions equal different results. You want to see different things in your relationships, you got to throw different pebbles in. That's all there is to it. And I said last session, the way this works is you either throw different pebbles in that you've never thrown in your relationship, or you throw pebbles in at a frequency you've never thrown in a relationship. So if you've never done the dishes before in your marriage, maybe now it's time. Or if you've done it occasionally, maybe it's time to do it every week. You see what I'm saying? So it's either a different action or a different consistency. Final thing, no pebble, no ripple. You want to see ripples in your relationships? You want to see them differently? You want to see different responses? You got to throw pebbles. That's all there is to it. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to stop right here, and we're going to have 5 minutes of self-reflection. What I want you to do is I want you to reflect back on your commitments from this week, and I want you to do some sober evaluation here. I want you to look at this, and you did your commitments. What ripples did you see? It could have been a different response from your spouse. It could have been maybe you saw something in Scripture you've never seen before. It could have been, man, maybe you didn't have a fight this week with your wife. Maybe she talked to you. Maybe. What ripples? How did you see other people, including God, responding to the small pebbles that you threw into your core relationships? 5 minutes. Go ahead and go. Let me interrupt you just real briefly. You got this sheet that said ripples and realizations. Okay, you're going to keep that in binder. This goes along with what you're doing right now. At any point, at some point in this journey, you're going to have some kind of ripples. You're going to learn something about your kid. You're going to see your wife respond in a different way. You're going to see God do something. You want to write that down. You want to make note about that. Put a date by February 2nd, and God spoke to me through Scripture. God spoke to me while I was worshiping. February 24th, my kid for the first time said this to me. You're going to write down those ripples and keep a journal of what those ripples look like. And then on the other side it says realizations. As you walk through this process, you're going to realize things about the people around you that you've never seen before. Years ago, I didn't realize how important quality time was to one of my kids. And so my commitment was I was going to spend 30 uninterrupted minutes once a week with that kid doing whatever that kid wanted. We call it special time. And what I found was about 2 weeks into it, they would run up to me, my son Nathan would run up to me and would say, what are we doing for special time? What are we doing for special time? He's talking, it became our language of communication. And so I realized, I should have known before, but I realized in a powerful way how important special time was with that kid. And so you're going to want to write down your realizations about your relationship, because those are the things that you carry forward beyond the season. That you go, you know what, knowing what I know now about my relationships, this is how I live forward. in an undefeated way of life, okay? So ripples and realizations. So if you have any great ripples or even, medium ripples or whatever, and realizations, you're going to write those down as well, okay? Keep going, guys. All right, one of the big mistakes that we make, is we either look past the small ripples that God has given us inside of our lives when we make these acts of contribution, or we don't recognize them for what they are. Oftentimes, ripples come in very common forms. It comes in the form of your kid's nicer to you, or your wife has a softer tone to you because you did the dishes the night before. Something like that. Oftentimes we miss that. So what we have to do is we have to retrain ourselves to look for the responses that are happening by the people around us. Years ago, I had a young man who he made this commitment, and he committed that he was going to do this certain thing. And he went several weeks, and he didn't see any kind of ripples in his relationships with his parents. And he's doing this active contribution inside of his home, throwing those couple in, and he came to me and said, "Coach, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to do." And we talked about the pebble he was throwing in. We adjusted it just a little bit. He made a simple adjustment. And within a week, he started seeing a radically different response from his parents. But what he realized, his realization was, his parents valued one thing more than another. And what he didn't realize early on was, really his parents' value was, his parents cared more for his relationship with his little brother, which is where he placed his new pebble, than they did about doing the dishes and things like that. So when he made that adjustment inside of his relationship, it radically changed his dynamic on how he contributed to that relationship. We talk about intentional pursuit. You've got to pursue people the way they want to be pursued. That's really the way this goes. So let's talk about accountability. So what I'm going to do is we're moving us to a place where there's going to be a lot of accountability moving forward. From today moving forward, there's going to be about 20, 25 minutes of accountability in every one of our sessions. So you're like, it's a little uncomfortable. That's kind of the point, right? No one grows and fulfills their purpose in a place of comfort, ever. So we have to let men look into our lives and ask us hard questions about where we are and where we're not. But let me define what accountability is, where it's gone wrong. 3 things on where accountability has gone wrong. Accountability has gone wrong because accountability among Christian men today has become damage control. It's become damage control. We get, we get in trouble with our lives. We get caught looking at pornography, or we got something of that nature, and we realize I got to get some accountability. It's damage control, right? It's oftentimes a lot of what we mean by accountability is putting a finger in the dye, right, and making sure it doesn't spew out, rather than rebuilding the whole thing and rebuilding the walls that prevent those kind of leaks in the first place. So it's damage control. Okay, a lot of people they treat accountability like your job is to help me not sin. That's not your job, okay? That's Jesus' job. Jesus' job is to help me overcome my sin. That's not your job, okay? Second, misplaced dependence. Misplaced dependence. A lot of times in accountability, we as men, what we'll do is we'll start putting our dependence on other men. We'll start expecting things of them and relying upon them to do things for us when really it should be relying and responsible for myself and relying upon the Lord, okay? So it's not your job to keep me from messing up. It's not my job to keep you from messing up. Third, accountability has come to mean management of our sin, not the achievement of our priorities, values, and dreams. That's the critical point here, guys. If you talk to Christian men about what an accountability group is, basically they'll say, well, we read a little bit of the Bible, but then we'll go through this checklist to make sure that we're not cheating on our wives and things like that. Guys, again, I told you this before. You can totally miss your purpose as a husband and a father and not cheat on your wife, not beat your kids, and have a good job. You can totally miss your purpose. It's more than that. What about dreams? What about values? What about your calling? God has a calling on each one of your lives, and it matters. Accountability is about going somewhere that you were made to go. In Hebrews, he says, let us throw off every one of the weights that so easily entangle us, and the sin that so easily hinders us, we're told in Hebrews. And it's this interesting metaphor where you're climbing up this mountain, the upward calling of Christ. You're climbing up in your relationship with Christ, and he says, throw off the things that are holding you back. Why? Because it's not about the things that are holding you back, it's about the mountain. And if something's holding you back, you throw it off. But it's a tandem relationship. It's not sitting down and going, well, let's just throw stuff off. That's the goal, is just to have sin thrown off our lives. The goal is to go up the mountain and get to the top of it. The goal is the upward calling of Christ, and anything that's standing in your way, you crowd it out. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's talk about what great accountability partners do. And before, to set this up, I want to paint a picture. Think about your groomsmen. Yes, those of you who are married. You got your groomsmen in mind? Okay. The tradition of groomsmen began with a singular purpose, accountability. Groomsmen, here's what they mean. Groomsmen were meant to be pillars of men in your life, that if you did something stupid, they would be the first people to come and call you out. That's what groomsmen are. Well, that's what groomsmen were supposed to be. That's what they are. So when we choose those men as our groomsmen, we're supposed to choose men who will be with us through thick and thin, not just guys who will be with us when we're doing stupid, not the guys that perpetuate the stupid. Those guys should never make it into a groomsmen. Okay, you're thinking of two guys you picked, aren't you? Right? I got it. I understand it. But we're talking to guys that if you do something dumb in your marriage, they're going to call you. And they're going to call you out. You go, hey, wise guy, remember when I stood behind you and you promised what you would do for your wife? You ain't doing it. I witnessed your covenant. You get back to it. I'm going to pick you up from that stupid hotel and I'm going to move you back into your home. You're going to get counseling and figure that's what groomsmen are supposed to be. That's what accountability is supposed to be. Accountability is, I have this dream and this passion for your life that aligns itself with God's dream and passion for your life. So there's three aspects of what loving accountability looks like. Number one, loving accountability, great accountability partners, they have to love you enough to champion your values. They have to love you enough to champion your values. Okay? Christian, he and I had the opportunity to get to know each other over these last several months. An incredible man. He believes in kingdom business. This is a kingdom business that we're operating under. He believes that God has entrusted him in this for kingdom purposes. But as I walk with him in life, suddenly he starts talking about making money. He talks about he starts renting this out for this part, and it's all about money. I'm supposed to love your value, your dream enough to go, no, wise guy. Your dream is a kingdom business. Your dream is a kingdom business. I've got to love your dream enough, and this is important, I've got to love it more than I love even your feelings. I've got to love the dream for your life and the purpose for your life more than I love your feelings. Because sometimes great accountability has to step on your feelings. Sometimes great accountability has to step over your feelings. Sometimes men have to look each other in the eye and go, you're dropping the ball. But that's okay. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to prop you up for a season and help you get there. That's what accountability does. And I'm willing to bet you've all had seasons of life where you've had men come alongside you like that. Okay? Some of you are here because a guy grabbed you by the arm and said, you need to come to this. Propping you up. Not saying you're messing it up, but saying that there's more for you. I see more for you. Let's go get it. Second, they've got to love you enough to call you out when you get outside your core values. They have to love you enough to call you out when you get outside your core values. Okay? One of Satan's great traps is isolation. He isolates men. This is one of the greatest attacks that I see on men today in the church. He isolates us. Our wives go to Bible study, right? Because our wives go to Bible study. But we take care of ourselves. I got this figured out. We isolate ourselves, we do things on our own, we have our own jobs, we have our own companies, we have our own purposes, and so we get isolated by ourselves. And so when stuff happens in our lives and it becomes chaotic and a mess, what ends up happening is we're all by ourselves and there's no one there to prop us up. There's no one there to help us when we're struggling to fight for our dreams and fight for our families with us. We isolate ourselves. Now, you guys have made a conscious step away from that isolation, and there are blessings for it. You guys are going to experience blessings that there are men who said no to the invitation to come into the community. They're going to miss out on. But in order to have great accountability, our ego has to die. We have to be willing for someone to look at me and go, man, it's not great. We've got to be called out when we get outside of our core values. Third, you need a brother, and great accountability is love each other enough to connect consistently so you persevere in your journey. Great accountability requires consistent connection. Okay? One of the reasons that we meet here every Tuesday is because we provide consistent points of connection. And what's going to happen moving forward is we're going to keep meeting on Tuesday, obviously, through the season, but you're going to connect with each other, with your accountability partners throughout the week. What's great is cell phones make it so easy with text messages. You can just text a brother. How are you? How's that thing you said you were going to do for yourself and your dog? How's that? it's Saturday afternoon, or it's Sunday afternoon. You said you were going to pray for your pastor, or take notes at church on Sunday. Did you do it today? I'm just asking each other. I love God's dream and call for your life more than I love your feelings. So I'm willing to ask uncomfortable questions. As a result of that, some men will run from me. That's okay, right? But you want to be one of those guys that are fighting for the most important things inside of other guys' lives. Now, simply put, you want great accountability, you want to receive that, give it. The best way to get great accountability is give it. So be the guy. Be the guy that holds each other accountable. Be the guy that says, whoa, brother, you said that you were going to do this. Why didn't you do that? Be that guy. Okay? And you know what you find? That guy will be that guy for you. His ripple will be responding to the pebble you're throwing in. You're throwing pebbles in your relationship with each other. Now, before we jump into accountability, what I want to do is real quickly, what I've taught you just now about accountability, how is that different than accountability you've seen or experienced in your lives? Okay? How is that? Is that a new way of approaching accountability? Is that a new way of thinking about that? Any thoughts here? What do you think?
I think it's really important as far as God needs to control the responses. That's a big one for me. You know, how letting that go. That really speaks to me.
Good. Anybody else? Either ripple effect or accountability, new concepts for you, something you've never heard before, or something that's affirming something you've thought for a long time?
I really appreciate you pointing out the holding to the priorities, values, and dreams. It's kind of like, what is your goal that I can help champion and push you towards? Yes. Years ago in college, there was at least in our circle, there was a little card you kept in your wallet with 10 questions, and the last one was, did you lie about any of your answers?
Yeah.
So you could say yes or no. All right, great. See you next week. And it just never really felt well in my soul. It was like, I really feel like we're championing here. You know, we're just kind of like playing the game. So I like that.
Good.
I mean, to me, it's not the management of sin, going back to what they said, where really ties back to your values and dreams, and it's not about one simple little thing, but it changes the whole.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, champion the whole. Very good. Okay, so turn on the back page of this. Very good, guys. Turn on the back page. Okay, so we're about to jump into accountability, and I'm giving you a guide on how to do it. Here's how to do it. So what you do is, let me first and foremost say this: the table of growth is a round table. And the old legends about King Arthur's court, it's a round table. All like, I don't know if it's true, but I like the concept. The growth table is a round table. The reason I say that is because the growth table has no heads. No one's the head of the growth table. No one has this figured out. I'm on this journey as well. I have commitments and I have things that I'm doing to intentionally pursue my family because the table of growth is a round table. Now, here's why this is so important. You can be wherever you are on this journey, and it's okay. My favorite thing about the Undefeated Growth process is you can take a man who's been walking with Jesus for 50 years, and he can hold be in an accountability relationship with a man that just started following Jesus yesterday. Here's why. Because this is built on, did you do what you said you were going to do? So that man who's been walking with Jesus for 50 years doesn't hold the young man accountable to doing his commitment step. Because that man, he may be like, God's told me to fast 2 times a week, or fast for 48 hours or something. That may be where God has pursued him, where he is in his maturity in his journey. But that young man may say, I'm going to read my Bible like twice a week for 10 minutes. And for that young man, that's the biggest step he's ever taken. He's never opened the Bible on his own. I remember the first times I ever opened the Bible on my own without a pastor or a teacher telling me to do it. You remember those? Those big steps, right? And what do we do when our babies, when they take their first step? We celebrate, don't we? We clap, we applaud, we go nuts, because we know that first step has to come in order for them to be runners, right? For them to run in life and be mobile and all that stuff. But their first mediocre step has to happen in order to get there. So wherever you are on your steps, it's okay. So the guy that's going to hold you accountable, he might have committed something that's way down the road from you. Don't throw shade on that. Don't think bad about that. This is a round table. All you're going to be held accountable is what you said you were going to do. That's it. And if you've done your reflection well, walked along our journey, and you've got your good why, you're right where you need to be. And you just take this step. And I'm telling you guys, if you look at men in your life who are mature, and these pillars of men, these rock solid men who are down the road and really mature in many areas of their life, very healthy, they got there by small, repeated steps over time. They did not wake up there. They were not born that way. Great men are not born, they are built. You can take that to the bank. And this is how you build it, by being a man of your word. Make small commitments, live those out, be held accountable, and raise your wealth. That's what this looks like. So here's how this goes. You're going to read your brother's commitment back to him. Now, it's a little bit challenging if you haven't shown it. What I recommend is, each of you guys, I recommend you take a picture of your brother's sheet from last week. Remember, you wrote out your accountability? Take a picture of their sheet from last week so that you have your brother's accountability sheet. So when you text him, you can go, hey, you said you were going to do this. How's that going for you? I've been thinking about you. It's been on my mind while I was driving the car. All right, so take a picture of it. Then what you do is you say, you said you were going to do this. Did you do it? If he says yes, did you see any ripples from that? Ask him. If he says no, ask him, why not? It's an uncomfortable question, isn't it? Why did you do it? Okay? We'll talk more about that in the coming session about how to respond, but why not? How can I help you get back on track against it? Remember, this is about your dreams. I'm fighting for your relationships here. You said you needed to do this. You worked out your why. So how can I help you fulfill that? Okay? And then finally, you just repeat that back and forth till you guys go around through all the relationships, and then here's the key. When you get done, you pray for each other's single relationship that they're struggling the most. So this is the opportunity where you go, you know what? I'd probably say my relationship with my wife right now, or my relationship with my son, or my daughter, this is where I'm struggling the most. And I want to target prayer right there. All right, let's pray for it. And so you target prayer right in that area. All right? Real specific, real targeted prayer. So for the next, it's going to be 21 minutes. Okay? Sorry, I talked a little bit too much this point. For the next 21 minutes, you got accountability. All right? And so stay focused, talk about your commitments, and focus in on that. On your marks, get set, go. So next session, when we come back, we're going to have, you guys are going to have probably 30 minutes of accountability time. So it was kind of an introduction to that, stuff that we had to teach to go through. But this is our habit, this is our new rhythm. Remember, we talked about the 5 pillars of growth. When you have a priority, you have intentional habits stemming from that priority, you have accountability, you have self-reflection, you have celebration, you will grow. If you have those 5 things in place, you will grow. And my job is to create an environment where those 5 things are in place for the season that we walk together. And so what I want to do here is I want you to tell me some ripples. What ripples did you see this week from the little pebbles that you threw in? And so, it doesn't have to be real detailed. You say, this is the pebble I threw in, and this is the ripple I saw. It could be something very small. Very small. Every ripple is worth celebrating. Okay? What ripples did you guys see from some of the stuff that you were, little actions that you guys were doing? Good.
Well, last week, a little before last week, but taking one of my son out, specifically just him, we went to Coppell.
Yeah.
And just his reaction and his excitement on the way home, and thanking me for doing that with him.
Yeah. That is awesome. That's a ripple. Huge ripple. Yep. What else?
Actually, I just one was heavy with my daughter. It was, like I said, I wouldn't call it a tidal wave, but it was a pretty big ripple. Communicating with her specifically when I was home, because she's 20 and out of home, making that communication, making myself responsible and accountable to communicating with her outside of the relationship with my wife and I as her parents. That sets good effects.
Wes, that's awesome. That's awesome. Very deep.
Yeah. One of mine about church, for me, is church's work. And one of the things that we're trying to do here is we're pursuing our families, we're pursuing our lives. And the other challenge for me is my wife taking your class right after this. But she knows what I'm supposed to be doing. So Sunday morning, I had a mess. I've been being at the church and I was working on it. And, I told her one of the things I want to commit to is sit with the family during worship as much as I can. And, we were working as hard as we can. And she sent me this little text, "Are you pursuing your family?" and the ripple was that she wasn't scolding me and somewhat. She was laughing with me about that, and she knew I was busy. But it caused me to tell the team, okay, I'm shutting down. Okay, we got a little bit more. So no, I'm walking away. And I said, I am pursuing my family during the season. I'm pursuing my family better on Sunday mornings while we're in church.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
Okay. And we had a great day. We didn't do a Super Bowl party. We just spent the whole day together as a family.
Yeah, and his dynamic is interesting because his wife was doing the female version of this process. I usually don't recommend telling your wife what you're committing to because if let's say that you're committing to saying one word of affirmation to her every single day, then it feels like, all right, sit down, babe, I've got an affirmation that I need to give to you. Make sure I get this done, right? That's not a healthy bond. What we're trying to do is create new habits inside of us, new patterns for us. But that's a unique situation. But I'm really proud of you for pressing into the heart space of setting accountability and boundaries and going, I committed to it. I'm going to do this. We want the ripples, we got to put the pebbles. That's all there is to it. So, anything else? You guys see any other ripples? No? Okay. Hey, so we'll stay this journey. So, like I said, sometimes you throw a ripple or throw a pebble and you see a little bit of a response, and sometimes you see a tidal wave. We don't control the responses. We just control the pebbles. That's all we're focused on here. Okay? We do what we said we were going to do. Just like Jesus, he did what he said he would do. That's it. And it changed the world. So, I'm proud of you guys. Make sure, if you have an extra moment, make sure if you haven't prayed for your brothers, pray for your brothers. Okay? That matters. And I'm not talking to quick God out of you target that prayer in the relationship that he needs targeted prayer. Because one of your great ripples is going to be when he asks you to pray for something specific, and he comes back next week or in 2 weeks, and God answered it. You guys are looking at each other going, look at what we did. That's what true accountability does. We're fighting for God's calling and direction and vision for our lives. Okay? Let's pray. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for these men. Lord, may the seeds that were sown today, may they be watered. May these guys not just know more things, may they do it. May they be doers of the word. And as they pray for each other, give them wisdom, give them vulnerability, give them prophetic words, give them direction by your Holy Spirit to intercede with one another. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. See you next week, guys.